Oh, it's on. Hello. I do enjoy getting the graveyard shift, so thank you all for staying. Thanks to Asmodee for putting on a fantastic show. Thanks to Marina for pulling it all together. It was fantastic. And I will introduce myself now. Matthew Hart from Steamforged Games. Everyone calls me Matt. I'm one of the owners, which is the less interesting part of my job. The most interesting part of my job is I'm the creative director. I get to oversee all of the products that we make. And I'm going to share with you a few things that we have been working on and will be delivering out in the coming year. I have a handy button in my pocket. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is Epic Encounters. So quick show of hands. Who has Epic Encounters in their store? Fantastic. So next year we'll be looking for more hands. Anecdotally, a really interesting thing that we did a few store visits because we had a few days at the beginning of the show, and some of the stores that we'd been to last year and talk to them about Epic Encounters. It was wonderful to go in and see full end caps, big displays. So Epic Encounters, having introduced it to the Canadian market last year, seems to really be catching hold. So for those of you who don't know, Epic Encounters is a box of minis. It's designed to use with 5e or any fantasy role-playing game. It comes with highly detailed miniatures. They focus around two types of SKU. One is a full warband, if you like, of a specific race, so goblins or orcs or drow. And then there's a corresponding big boss box that has an enormous model in it. The idea is you're able to plug them together, insert them into your D&D campaign, and you have a adventure that leads up to a big boss, and it's all thematically consistent. It's aggressively priced, really good price point, and GMs love it. So here's some numbers. We've sold loads of it. Am I allowed to say shitloads, or is that not allowed? Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, we sold a lot. 24 SKUs, and as you can see, here's a good example of the drow. So you have the drow warband, and then you have an enormous Dryder type beastie. I'm going to rattle through quickly. There's loads of slides. I'm on the clock. So Epic Encounters. If you swung by the booth over the last couple of days, you would have seen some of these. Those of you who took part in the paint and take or the speed painting competition would have also put some paint on these minis. It's the first time that we are releasing a product where we partner up with another IP. In this case, it's the fantastic Simperum game from Free League. Absolute dream to work with those guys, and really looking forward to seeing what people make of it. This is the next guy. So this is a Greater Demon. That is the big beastie. He's going to be on a 120mm base, about yay high. And he is going to be part of the Durgar and Greater Demon release set, which you can see here. Pre-order now. Local Legends. So Local Legends, I've heard nothing but nice things this week about Local Legends, which is lovely. The really quick story to share with you all is Local Legends is how I run my own games, and it was a system that I refined during COVID when we were all on lockdown and playing a lot of games online. And I realised that actually this would really translate well at the tabletop. And it also serves one of the key design pillars for Epic Encounters, which is to accelerate GMs in their journey. It's our way of sharing years and years of experience with people who may be just discovering the fantastic world of role-playing. And it also covers off one of the most difficult scenes to actually run in a game, and for which there is very little guidance out there, and that is how to run the ubiquitous tavern that appears either at the beginning, the end, or most oftentimes in the middle of an adventure. Pretty much every adventure has a tavern involved in it. So this is 10 highly detailed taverns in a box. Each tavern has a fantastic map, which you can see is loaded with detail. It has a great system for you to put NPCs into the area, have them moving about. They all have backgrounds, they all have personalities and character traits. It makes it really easy for the GM to just drop this in. And each one of the taverns has a legend, i.e. a local legend, that then is supported by another SKU, which is usually a small mini box. So for the Nodding Dragon, for example, there are rumours about an owlbear going around stealing people's laundry or whatever he's up to no good. So there's 10 of those in a box, and people love them. So lots of pretty pictures. As I say, every tavern has a whole bunch of NPCs. Each of the NPCs is fully statted out, as you can see. But more importantly, they have the adventure hooks and their personality types. Every tavern also has a unique mini game because players love mini games and gambling. So we've made sure we've got all of those in there. So I'm not going to read all of this to you. If you want it, speak to Toby or Fiz and get a copy of the slides. What I do want to share with you, though, is Epic Encounters is one of our key pillars for this year going forward. And that means that there's going to be a huge amount of marketing support for this. So it is a key brand, and it's one that we're going to keep pushing. So if you don't stock it, please do. And if you do stock it, thanks very much, and we'll keep selling you more stuff and hopefully making you a bit more money. I'm all out of breath now. Tales of the Valiant. So Tales of the Valiant, whilst it isn't an Epic Encounters box set, it does inherit an awful lot of the design philosophy that we put in place for Epic Encounters. It's a collaboration with Cold Brew Press to celebrate the Tales of the Valiant rule set that came out of the D&D kerfuffle that happened a year or so ago. And this, for us, is our love letter to what we think a starter set should look like. Highly detailed minis, what you'd expect from a Steamforged game. It has a whole bunch of different adventures that are designed for a GM to play through, for them to get used to the game. And then there's a simple one to kind of get the players in, and then there's a more in-depth adventure. They all work together. It's a harmonious product. It really has the hallmarks of what you'd expect from an Epic Encounter style box, but this time it's for Tales of the Valiant. So if you have Epic Encounters, this is a great one to put in your store as well. And then the biggie. So for those of you who don't know, Steamforged really came about because of War Machine. About maybe 15 years ago, I was playing a lot of War Machine, met a guy called Rich Loxham. He and I really got friendly, hit it off, and we set up a War Machine fan site called Steamforged.com. And we did painting videos, and we did tactics articles and all sorts of stuff like that. And the more we talked, the more we realised that actually we want to start making our own games. So we started Steamforged, and we were too lazy to change the name. And we thought, you know, we've got the domain name. Why not? We'll just repurpose it. So it's slightly weird to be talking to you guys 11, 12 years later about War Machine as part of Steamforged. But we acquired War Machine. That's Iron Kingdoms in its entirety. So that is War Machine. It's the Iron Kingdoms RPG. It's Warcaster. It's the full kit and caboodle. I just want to share a little bit with you about what we've been doing in the background, because it's not super exciting, but it's incredibly important. And I think you are exactly the audience who would be demanding answers to this. We've been improving an awful lot of stuff behind the scenes. I'm not going to delve too deeply into it, but certainly I'm sure all of you who are aware of War Machine are aware that they went through some challenges through the course of Mark III and Mark IV. There was a whole bunch of decisions that were made. There was just directions that happened, and the work, you know, COVID didn't help, etc., etc. But for us, when we looked at the business and when we looked to acquire it and take it on, there were some key foundations that we needed to make sure we built into place. So transition is making sure that the design and development and the production of the art and the sculpts is transitioned appropriately and safely. I can confirm that that is going actually way better than I possibly dreamed it could be. So at the moment, I have full creative control over the art and the design. We've put all our sculpting team into the process. So we are now fully transitioned into Steamforged, taking full control of it. That's not to say that Matt Wilson and Jason Souls and all the other guys and girls in the design team aren't actively involved in the project, but we've shuffled everything around, so now it all comes across my desk, which is good for me because I like War Machine quite a bit. Manufacturing-wise and operations, so one of the things that we wanted to make sure we could do is satisfy the demand. One of the challenges that PP was suffering was not being able to keep up with the demand. And then, as you guys know, especially with a minis game, if an air bubble creeps into the system, you start losing a few players, and then it starts ebbing away really quickly if you're not careful. So for us, increasing the manufacturing and building strength into the quality control, getting that pipeline, getting the customer support pipeline, they're all boring bits, but they're all incredibly important bits before we come and talk to you guys. And operations is actually then making sure we're opening and supporting the market. So for us, Canada is important, USA is important, Australia is important, etc. So each of those different territories has their own different setup and challenges. So for us, getting our house in order and then making sure we're able to roll it out was an incredibly important phase. So there's a couple of things I'm just going to pluck out of here. So the US production, which up until tariff land was super handy because it was just over the road from you guys, right? We've tripled the output in that, and actually it's not far off from being 4x on the output. So we've put in a load of machines, we've put in a load of training, We've fully scaled up the QA process, and we have got a premises that enables us to scale again if we need to. So we're able to react to demand and scale very easily. On the European side, we have a European partner which has a accidental benefit for you guys this side of the Atlantic, which is US was predominantly supplying the entirety of the world, and now we're focusing it just on this side of the world, and the European guys look after our side of the world, and then we've got some Australians underneath looking after the arse end of the world. So, here's another fantastic marketing slide, and spoiler alert, there's another one after this. We're going to be spending a lot of time talking about War Machine. It's really important to us. We have three main kind of areas in which we're going to focus. I won't read this all to you. It's all stuff that I hope you would just nod along sagely going, yeah, that's what you should be doing. That's what we want to do. We just want to do what we should be doing. Nothing more, nothing less. So things to pluck out of there. Every week there's an update to the app. There's always content going out. We're branching into more hobby-style content. We're absolutely looking to ensure that the game is supported by three key pillars. The pillars for us, now we all know that War Machine is considered a competitive game. The reason why it's a competitive game is not necessarily because of the way it's played, but more because the rule set is super clean. So it attracts people who enjoy a clean rule set and a balanced rule set. But what's really important for a minis game is the hobby aspect, collecting the minis, painting the minis, converting the minis. That's the thing that keeps you kind of coming back more and more. And then having, and we call it casual play, so that's going to be the other end of the spectrum from competitive play. So for us, three really important pillars is competitive, hobby, and casual play. And we're going to make sure that we've got marketing content for all of those. This slide's ever so slightly out of date. So what I'll tell you about, did anyone see the keynote or catch the news about the keynote at Adepticon? A few people? So we've just come back from Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago, got to present what our manifesto is for the year coming forward. I don't think I've had a bad bit of feedback about the keynote. There was an awful lot of people excited. I'm obviously biased, and I am going to lie to you. I won't lie to you, I'll never lie. But please check it out. See what your community is talking about with the Adepticon keynote. There was an awful lot of people really excited about what we're doing. No, I wanted to go to the next slide. Okay, no, let me go to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you about some releases, but there's a really important thing that we announced in the keynote that's a couple of slides away. So this is the current two-player sets. What we look to do is we've changed the way that you get players into War Machine. We've provided a really easy on-ramp. So the foundational product is what we call a command set. And a command set, this Shadows and Scum has 2 command sets in it. It's ideally priced for 2 people who might want to try again into War Machine. You buy the box, you split it, you can then play a game. This represents 30 points a side. And for every faction in War Machine, there is a command set that you can get. This particular product represents a good direction for us. This is in HIPS plastic, which means that the price point is really aggressive, which is ideal for an entry-level product. And it also acts as a really good conduit to the next product, which is a battle group, which adds you a few more warjacks or beasts. And then the next box set is the core set, and then the next set is the auxiliary set. So it's really easy for you to communicate to the players in your store what a sensible, user journey would be through this. But it all starts with this kind of box set. So we're going to continue making these in HIPS to keep the price point, a really good place. This is a good example of how extensible the range is. So within each army, there are enormous creatures. These are colossals. So that's 120 mil base. This thing sort of stands like that. It's about 2.5 pounds of resin. So it's a big old boy. This is a good example of the kind of product. Toby's put in the finer details. Toby's our commercial director. He's putting the fine details while we're here at the show on a Canadian stockist program. That will enable you guys to get access to this kind of product. These are typically lower turn style products compared to the core sets. So for us, we don't want to flood your shelves with stuff that's going to take a long time to turn. We'd rather do it on demand with you guys, but going through the stockist program is the right route to go. So if you are interested in War Machine, please do hassle your rep mercilessly and talk to them about the stockist program, because that helps us get them over the line to make sure it's all tickety-boo. Okay, quickly, how much time have I got? All right, good, okay. You haven't seen how many slides I've got. Right, I'll take a breath. So Signar Gravedigger. So this is the latest release. This is part of the Signar faction, and the releases are going to follow a very similar pattern. So this is going to make it really easy for your customers and for you to understand the cadence of what our releases are. So typically an army list will be delivered over the course of 3 months. The first month will be the command set and the battle group set, because they are the first two purchases we think are sensible. Month 2 is, that's what they look like. Month 2 is then going to be the core expansion. That then comes out the following month. That gives you typically more troop choices, but also another warcaster for you to play with. And then the month after that is going to be the auxiliary expansion. And that is where you then have your players sitting there with 100, 150 points worth of minis. Typically, the game is played around 75 or 100 points, so they are now fully equipped to then make choices on that, the more specialist items that they can get on an individual basis. Just a little sense of how we're looking to roll out. So as you can see, 3-month cadences, so it looks like 4 releases a year. One of the really clever things, and I can't take credit for this because this is something that PP did before we acquired, is rather than having a big faction, so let's use, because just in case you're not familiar with War Machine, let's use 40k as a good example. A faction is like Space Marines, and then an army list is like Ultramarines, Salamanders, Blood Angels, right? So by subdividing, what we've actually done is make it easier for people, and I see this pattern in people's buying behaviours, is it's close enough for them to be able to catch all of to catch them all, Pokemon on the brain. For them to collect them all, but without feeling, daunted by too many minis that they need to get hold of. So for us, this army list rollout means that people can have a faction identity, i.e. Signar. They love the blue guys, but they can also play the Storm Legion, which is one that came out a couple of years ago, and this year is the Signar Gravediggers. And then a couple of years' time, when Signar comes up in the rotation, there'll be another army list after that. So we got Signar coming out with Gravediggers, Kador with the Old Umbry, Southern Creels, Kithgard were announced at Adepticon, and then we're keeping something back because we do like to tease. Oh, Mad Flex, I painted these. I mean, we can just sit here and look at these for a little while, can't we? Whoa, could you imagine the talent in his fingers? Really important for you guys, organised play. What are we going to do about it? And as I said before, there's 3 key pillars, so we're going to support that with 3 key pillars of organised play. We're trying to make it modular. So essentially, there is a hobby support kit and a play kit. The play kit has a core, and you can then add bolt-ons to turn it more into a casual style experience or a competitive style experience. So if you're running a War Machine event, you can choose what type of event you will run. Grab the core OP, and then let's say you want to put a tournament on, you grab the competitive pack, that comes together, and then you can kind of run it in your store. Or if you want to run a casual play and put a campaign together, you buy the core set and the casual kit. You guys get it, you're super smart. The hobby kit is something that's going to come out, I'll talk about it in a second. There's a few features in the various core sets. Again, I'm not going to stand here and read it all to you. One of the things that I do think is really cool though, and we got a lot of great response for, these cards here are command cards. You actually play them while you're playing the game. In the OP kit, what we're able to do is do unique artwork, fancy pants stuff, so like Adepticon 2026, they're only exclusive at that show. We build them into the kits. But one of the things that I want to do, because I am a painter and I think the hobby is incredibly important, is every time someone turns up an event with a painted army, what we're looking to do is get the TO to take pictures of the best armies, send them through to us, and at the end of the year, I'll get the job of picking player-painted armies that then become the feature armies on the new command cards for the following season, with a full credit to the artist who painted that army. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I'd be stoked if I kind of got my stuff on that. So that's the core organised play kit. Then there's the narrative bolt-on. That's a full campaign. It wouldn't be a Matt Hart game OP kit if it didn't have stickers in it, because I like stickers. I'm a big child, basically. There's a whole bunch of STL support. So I don't think I've got a slide in here to talk about the STLs. So we have a digital subscription model that enables players who are fans of the game to get access to accessory-style content. So that's themed terrain, it's base toppers, it's alternative arms for like the heads and the arms that go onto the warjacks, and it's all themed around the 3-month release. So right now, there is Gravediggers is going to be the theme going on. There's a whole bunch of Crick stuff, which was the previous release, so it's a really good way for people to enhance. What we are looking to do, and I'll commit Toby to this, but we're looking to work out how do we get a digital subscription for you guys in the store, so you're able to help those people in your store who don't necessarily have access to a 3D printer. And then there's also the whole fine detail of terms of use and stuff like that. So that's the stuff we're working on, but as soon as we know, you'll know, and we'll work from there. There's a bolt-on kit. It just tells you how to run a Swiss system, essentially, and gives you all the paperwork for it. This is one that I'm really excited about, but I have very little information on. I'm waiting for some costings to come back, but I'm really, really in love with the paint and takes. I had great fun this morning hanging out with people painting. Day before, I painted a mini with all the speed painters. I just think it's a really nice way to spend time, and I've heard stories from a lot of you about having kids come in and they sit and paint with their Epic Encounter sets, people who just discover how fun it is to push colour around on a mini. So I want to make sure that we're able to support that with a proper OP kit that enables you to put a paint and take on in your store. So, talking of painting, it's almost like we put this together and it just flows one slide into another. It's wonderful. So P3 paint range. Hands up who's heard of P3 back in the day? Yeah. We would not have brought a new paint range to a saturated, do you like the saturated market? Been working on that. We wouldn't have bought a paint range to a saturated market without having the backing of 20 years of brand strength and history. This is a paint brand that people love. So that was a good thing and a bad thing. So for me, when it came to overhauling this paint range, I had to make sure that it behaved and felt the same as it did before, but it had an enhanced behaviour because modern painters expect a higher pigment load. They expect the paint to behave in a slightly different way. Techniques that were valid 20 years ago are less popular now. The painting techniques have moved on a bit. So there was a whole bunch of sort of fine-tuning that we had to do. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that happened with the P3 range is it doesn't matter which colour you pick up, they all behave the same when you put them on the model. Now typically, especially with some of the ranges that kind of get into like really big numbers of different colours, there's quite a disparity between the strongest performing colour and the weakest performing colour. For us, because this is a carefully curated range, it's much easier for me to normalise those behaviours. So you should find that the yellow will behave quite similarly to the brown. So you don't have to learn the individual idiosyncrasies of every single paint and try and remember them as you're going through. Beyond that, this is a modern pigment loaded. We've overhauled the pigments that we're using. That means that I got to kind of put my white lab coat on and do little pipettes of like binder and flow retarder and all that kind of stuff. I had a brilliant time and ended up with a paint range that I have access to every single paint. I reached for P3 more out of choice and convenience. Probably is quite close to my hand, but out of all the paints that I have, P3 is really behaving how I want to. And I find that when I sit down this morning and chat with everyone who was just messing about with it, and this was from people who have never painted before, all the way up to experienced painters who won in the speed painting competition. Did you win? You came second, didn't you? No, I won. Oh, you won? Yeah. So everyone likes it. So, and this is one of the things that I think is important to communicate about P3 is it's the paint range that I would feel comfortable putting in the hands of someone who's new to painting, and I would be safe in the knowledge that they would have a paint range that will grow with them as they go through their painting journey, all the way up to Golden Demon. And I can prove that because John Ninas, who is a friend of mine, Ninjon on YouTube, he got silver with his wonderful Skaven, and he was painted almost exclusively with P3 paints. He's a fan. There he is. What a handsome chap. Last but not least, I think? No, almost last but not least. So for those of you who don't know, War Machine is, all of the rules are free. Every single model stat is free. It is available in the app, and that's both on Android and iOS. We are bringing an awful lot of extra content in front of the paywall. The paywall largely exists to allow your customers to have more than like 2 or 3 army lists. So for people who like me, who like to, anytime I get a spare 5 minutes, I can build an army list. I have the paid version of it. But for those people who want to dip their toe in, find out if this is a game for them, they can very easily just download the app. They've got everything they need to play the game. You don't have to buy codexes and all that other kind of stuff. For those of you who are aware of, back in the day, Pressganger was a highly coveted system. It was probably, strongly arguable that this was the key driver for a lot of the success that War Machine had about 10, 15 years ago. There was an army of amazing people out there who were called Pressgangers. They ran events, they did demo days, they really kind of drove this game. And for reasons, which I won't go into unless there's whiskey involved, the Pressganger program kind of went away. So what we've sat down is looked at it and thought, right, what were the really good things about it and what are the things that didn't actually serve the purpose? And we've revolutionised the process. We're using Pressganger as a really familiar branding for this, but for us, the guts of the system is very different from what it was back in the day. So the biggest takeaway for you guys, if you're aware of how the Pressganger worked back in the day, this doesn't give people who volunteer product. This is our way of recognising their efforts, but not through just giving them toy soldiers. It's actually more badges of honour, so it's like merch and hang out with us at Gen Con and stuff like that. So it's non-financial gain, basically. Another thing that we get asked a lot, I've just talked to you about the app, and officially Steamforged is 99% support on the app. That's where we deploy all of the content, but we do recognise that some people prefer to have hands-on. They like to play a game in an analog environment rather than constantly looking at screens. We look at screens all day. So for those kinds of people, we are building a print-on-demand access to the cards. So you're able to build a list on your app, press a button, that can then deploy it to ForgeFire, and then you'll get a printed set of cards that will come for your army list through the post. That's the plan. And then we have an awful lot of awesome license partners. So Baron Dice, hands up who can guess what they're doing for us. Broken Egg doing fantastic tokens. FLG are doing their awesome mats as usual. Warmag, maybe one that you guys haven't heard of. British company, partnered up with another company called Really Useful Boxes. They're the guys that do the magnetised sheets that stick on the bottom of a clear plastic box. And then they do the handy little circles that stick on the bottom of your bases, and you can then transport your models. Based in the UK, just down the road from our main studio, so we're super friendly with those guys and very excited about what they're putting together for us. So looking forward to getting those products from the UK, which is predominantly where they sell over here in the States, because I think you guys are in the States. I do apologise. Everyone boo me. Boo, you idiot. For people in the States, they're you wonderful people who are way better than those guys. And well, actually, talking of which, our fantastic friends over the other side of the border have obviously created an unstable landscape for us to exist in, because life's not hard enough as it is. The good news is we have already got this stuff into the right places to make sure that we have stock available across all of these brands, and there will be no price increases. For the time being, we don't think it's right to be passing on those costs just yet. I think the landscape is volatile enough for us to adopt a wait-and-see strategy right now, rather than just knee-jerk and start trying to, drive the prices up. But all of this stuff is in stock and ready to rock and roll, and is tariff-free. Any questions? How did I do on time?
You're good, actually. You still have a couple minutes left, so we're good for Q&A. Let's start here.
So it looked like you had centers in Europe and US. Are you planning to move to Canada for doing production at all?
It's certainly something we've talked about. It's one of those kind of chicken and eggs. We need to gauge how strong the demand is going to be. That enables us to build a business case. But in a perfect world, yes, I would love a production facility, in Canada as well as one in North America.
Just quickly, we are actually in talks. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no, I don't need a microphone, said Toby. Every time he does this.
So with the European manufacturer, we're beefing that up quite a lot, because
Asmodee do have some consolidation points in Europe, so it may be, while the tariff madness is going on, we're going to look at investing in a bit more resource there. So potentially the War Machine product will come from Europe into Canada, so we can avoid all the tariff nonsense. And the paints are manufactured in the UK as well. So it's kind of working out all right for us and then hopefully you guys, but we'll be in touch, and Asmodee will be in touch to talk to you about it. Yeah, and the Chinese products that we do manufacture, the hard plastic, we're looking at delivering straight from China to Canada to try and avoid all the madness at the moment.
Cool. There's another one over here. Okay.
Thanks. Just to confirm, because I've had a lot over the last couple of days, the command set, is it? That's like what you would say is like the first box to buy. That's the 30 points of each. The plan is for those to be hips, all of them eventually?
Going forward, new releases for those will be in hips. That's how we plan to roll it out. Obviously, there's legacy models that were previously released as resin. So whether we choose to update those into hips or not is actually a financial decision, because, you know, how many of those are we going to sell to warrant, you know, the molding costs and everything like that. So I would probably guess not so much, but it'll be everything from now on marching forward. Now, for those of you who have a little bit of OCD like I do, the good news is we've started with the second army list in hips for each of the factions. So there will be quite an even kind of split. So every faction will have a resin army list, and then all the new stuff that we're bringing out will all be hips going forward.
And that's including like the 4 boxes for each of the new armies. That's all hips, or just the
to start off with, we're going to roll out with the with command sets first of all, and then once that's kind of underway and we've understood what the all the trip hazards are with it, we'll then look to roll it out into the next boxes.
Any other questions?
So I used to play Crix back in the day when
good.
there was War Machine didn't die.
Right.
Now it's come back. It was a really fun game, so hopefully it keeps going that way. Just wondering what's the plans for Hordes?
Oh, no, that's a really good question. So for those of you who don't know, War Machine had a sister product called Hordes. Essentially, one focused on warjacks and the other one focused on war beasts, and they had an ever so slightly different mechanic, but they were largely sharing the same core game engine. What we've done to try and make the branding a little bit simpler is just drop War Machine and Hordes and just call it War Machine in its entirety. So Hordes factions now come under War Machine just as a single, stronger brand identity. So Hordes is a trademark that we own, but it's not one we plan on using.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
All right.
Any other questions, anyone? No. I just want to take a moment to thank you for being a golden sponsor for Canada Place for us.
Hey, no worries.
It's been a pleasure to have you guys around. It's been really amazing. So please give a big round of applause for Steamforged.